Why did they all of a sudden start printing that I'm such a bad person and I get arrested a week later? So that people weren't like, why the fuck are you arresting this guy?
Right.
They want everyone to be softened to the idea. That's what the media does. It softens you to ideas. It doesn't report anything. So the reason I've lost faith is because the media, think of how it softened us to ideas during COVID. They don't just say one day you're locked in your house because everyone will say, fuck no. They say, we might have to lock you in your house.
Yeah.
We're discussing maybe locking you in your house. If we lock you in your house, it's only going to be for 2 weeks. We're going to have an emergency sit down with the Cobra Summit, and we're going to discuss maybe locking you in your house. And they say locking you in your house every 5 seconds for about 3 weeks. So by the time the idea comes around, your mind's used to it. You're like, oh yeah, they've been talking about this. This is not a shock. It's not a surprise. They've been saying they might lock me in my house. NHS, like a fucking retard. While the whole thing's, while everyone on Downing Street are partying, by the way, you didn't see your grandma die, but they were all fucking drinking on Downing Street, dipshit. And these same people are saying I'm the fucking problem. And this is why my faith in humanity has been destroyed.
Yeah.
Because there's people who sit there and go, Andrew Tate's accused. Didn't you see the BBC liars report that the Romanians said, liars, that Andrew Tate did something? And they're sitting there going, oh, well, maybe I believe Andrew Tate's bad. You're just fucking born to lose at this point. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, bro.
You're a fucking idiot.
I think what you stand for and what you teach in my mind is one thing is critical thinking. It's just thinking.
Of course.
Because people don't do, even when they watch your videos. If they're watching your videos, I mean, people say, oh, but you interview Andrew, do you agree with everything he says? I'm like, I don't agree with everything I said over the last 10 years.
Of course.
Of course. Right? So just when you're watching something, think. Be a critical thinker. If it's in the media, don't just blindly. And also, when people say things like they said about you, this guy killed someone after watching an Andrew Tate video. And that was the BBC.
Yeah. No, you know what we should talk about? We should talk about the number of fucking pedos that work for the BBC. Why don't we talk about that? Right. Why don't we talk about Hugh Edwards sending his ass to fucking little boys? When the BBC run up to me in Romania and they're like, oh, do you have a comment? I'm like, tell me about Hugh Edwards. You're a fucking nobody.
Yeah,
you think you're a reporter, you're a nobody. You don't have a badge. I tell the police to fuck off. You think I want to tell the BBC to fuck off? You're fucking clowns. No one gives a shit about what you say anymore. Anyone with a brain anyway.
Critical thinking, personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Being strong, taking personal responsibility for your finances, for your health.
Absolutely.
That's the majority. When I see your videos, that's 90% of it. A little bit of trolling, a little bit of rage bait, a little bit of fine.
Gotta keep it interesting.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I think that's the message.